Oh, do you care about that?
Nah, not really. I'm good.
It's fine, eh?
Yeah.
It's part of our like health theme and shit. You should talk about it.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh yeah. So we're already recording anyway.
okay.
Well, hello everyone. This is the second episode of Queer Undead. We're going to be talking about health and temporality. So like health, longevity, time, immortality, and various combinations of those things, I guess.
Yes, we are. Sorry, everyone. I'm just on the toilet right now, so I'm kind of just focusing on that. But
Well, every healthy person has to go to the toilet.
well, yeah, that's right.
And like, I mean, I think one of the unhealthy parts of our collective of societies is the fear of like, I don't know, shit and dirt and like this whole like attitude of privacy, which is actually like a sub-component of like the attitude of paranoia. And they like tie together in this thing that like you have to protect your privacy or your body or your internal space or your health or whatever.
Right. And also, people are just afraid of asses in general.
Yeah. Or they like fetishize it because they have like this, you know, repression around it.
Right. Yeah.
Which
What
is
was
better.
that? Who wrote the Solar Anus?
Don't know.
I think it's like oh, I don't know, some French philosopher like Lacan or Guattari, some shit like that.
It's probably sorry.
Yeah. And
I don't think it's Lacan.
probably not. But anyway, the name's not important.
Yeah.
He basically equates like the sun as the same thing as like an asshole, because they're both things that you can't look at, but you need them to survive.
One of my like favorite psychoanalytic texts, which is by Marion Milner. Like she's got this whole, it's like one long case study, and she's got this whole thing about how her patient has like the bottom's eye view of the world, and so she views everything through the anal register, which is also the register of control. So she's like obsessively controls all of her movements and shit. And when she's like analyzing drawings, she's like reads it as like being seen through the bottom's eye view.
Okay. But so the person actually sees the world as if she's seeing it from her ass.
Yeah, everything's interpreted through the like anal register.
Okay.
Which is like about like, you know, there's like three main registers in psychoanalysis, which are of pleasure, which are anal, oral, and genital, and like yeah, they relate to different stages of the development of your like personality and your engagement with the world and shit.
Right.
But anyway,
cool.
Where are you at in your health life? What's your health like? What's your attitude on health?
Right now I'm sort of being pretty loose with it, really. I used to try to control it a lot, but now I'm just kind of I'm eating a lot of shit that like I just eat whatever my body feels like it needs, rather than deciding based on like a logical thing. It's just like a gut feeling. With regards to exercise, yeah, I feel like my relationship with like bodily exercise is pretty bad, actually, because I'm very like mind oriented. So like finding ways, I think I kind of resist physical exercise a little bit.
But I'm cycling and stuff now to and from work, which is pretty fun.
Cool.
I'm enjoying that a lot. But so I feel like you have a much better like what's the word? Like integration with mental and physical exercise. So why don't you tell us a bit about that?
Well, I can be a bit obsessive. So like integration of things, like diverse things, is like something that I like focus on, and I'm like, how much can I integrate into like my daily life? It's like a potency thing, kind of. It's like trying to find this point where everything intersects or something. But I didn't used to exercise, and I was like, I used to be, like cynical about exercise and about healthy attitudes and like, health propaganda, which I still agree with, but it's like, I also think you should be healthy now, and I like maintaining my health and balance is like a major part of my life focus and shit. Because I managed to integrate my idea of health with other things that I am interested in or whatever, or that are important to me and shit. But basically, like, my mental health got really bad. And, like, part of that was that I was not exercising and activating my body and engaging with things physically, or engaging with many different things in a healthy way. And I ate bad food, and I smoked, and I, drank and did drugs and shit. It's like, what did you expect? But yeah, like, I thought that I could just keep going, and it would just be fine. And then I couldn't. Like, my anxiety got so bad because I had so much pent up energy that wasn't like connected to the world, that it was like I couldn't. It was insufferable. So I quit smoking and I started running, but then it didn't really get better until I started doing Tai Chi, and I started really thinking about what health and exercise are and what the actual relationship between those things and body and life experience is. Which I think is not necessarily covered in like mainstream health discourse. Like, even though the information is there and the propaganda is there and the motivation's there, it's not like, hey bro, did you know that like the health is actually like the main part of your life that everything else just kind of plugs into? It's like represented as just like something that you can do if you reckon it fits your image or whatever.
Right. Yeah, I feel like this sort of mainstream ideology with health is just basically it's almost as if it's like you have a moral duty to be fit and healthy and beautiful. So the actual like object of mainstream health is not really anything to do with being healthy. It's to do with like having a desirable image in like a capitalist sense.
Yeah, conforming.
Right. I think a lot of people resist the notion of health and perceive it as something that requires a lot of energy and effort to implement into your life. And I think also on the flip side, an obsession with health is like super unhealthy. Or an obsession with, let's say, the like superficial aspect of health as image. And I think veganism, for example, plays into that a lot. Or like going to the gym. All this kind of stuff is sort of like, if you're just doing it because you're supposed to do it, then I think you're sacrificing a lot of your mental stability in your pursuit of like a physical healthiness.
Yeah.
And that ain't good.
Yeah, that ain't right. Well, I think the thing that has like motivated me the most and has integrated like exercise and health with my life the most is connecting that with like ascension, basically, like, and connecting it with the things that drive my interests or, you know, valuing of like philosophy and like depth.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, like seeing how that connects with like spiritual development, because like before it was like I knew I had to do it, but I didn't really understand in a practical sense why. So I was always trying to motivate myself from my mind, being like, you have to do it. You know, it's like having like a boss there or like a dad there being like, you have to do this, like do your homework or whatever, or you're gonna feel like shit later, or like whatever. It was like a negative voice in my head making me do it, even though I knew it was the right thing to do. And I would hit a point some days or weeks where I was like, I can't do it, and then I had all this guilt about it and shit. But like, I don't know, because like my form of exercise for the past few years has been like Tai Chi mostly, and I've like read about how that works and shit and connected it with my meditation and stuff. It's like the real reason to like, for me to use my body and train it is to build up energy for my life or for my like internal life. But like building up the energy is what like generates movement in your life. And if you're just sitting down or whatever, like, or driving, or even if you walk a bit, but you're not really like activating your body or like your organs or your like glands and stuff, you know, in your mind in that way, beyond like a intellectual stimulation, then like you're not like you're not drawing energy into your the space of your belief or the space of your desire. Like you're just, I don't know, you're just looking at the things that you want or believe. You're not in them. Like you don't have the energy or the momentum to be what you want. I think like moving the body and getting into a rhythm where your body's doing that thing is the only real way to bring it into the world. And I've done like I've talked about this in my writing for a while too, is that like the body isn't the location of your life, but it's the portal of your ideas and energy into the world. And vice versa.
Yeah. I've just realized, like, basically, for like the past like 5-6 years, something like that, the only kind of exercise I've done is like when I'm fucking. So it's like probably a lot of like the good feelings I get from sex actually just overlap with like exercise. And I'm wondering if like that's the case for a lot of people who don't do exercise. Like they could be getting like great amount of pleasure from physical exercise, and like yeah, like in terms of your well-being, I mean, it could generate a lot of energy for all of your like endeavors in terms of your like internal exploration. So yeah, maybe I should get on doing more non-sex exercise.
Well, just by means of example, like in Taoism, the core of your energy of your body, as well as your like spiritual development, is they call it sexual energy, and it's like it's the same energy that you use for sex and reproduction. And like the purpose of like Taoist meditation and health practices is to like build up and cultivate that energy so that you're using that in your body, not just living on this like kind of external flux of like eating and shitting or whatever. And I'm not deep in Buddhism, but as far as I know, it has a similar kind of core, like the way the chakras are aligned and stuff. Like place where you need to build up energy is in that core that relates to like your sexual organs and your kidneys and your fluids in your body. And that's like where the ideas about not having sex come from. I mean, it's not actually not about fucking, but it's about not ejaculating. Because like if you waste your sperm, then you're just like flushing your sexual energy. And so like the like Taoist kind of path to immortality is like through that cultivation and shit and reaching a point where you're not in a cycle of energy, you're just like on a sustainable or infinite flow of energy. And like that is so much more motivating to me than like you're gonna feel good if you exercise, you know? Like it doesn't connect with like the core of people's being to just tell them to do it or like give them external reasons to do it. It's like if you really focus and do the shit that is right for you, then you'll like hit dank levels of experience and shit.
Let's talk a little bit more about immortality.
I want to know what your position on immortality is.
Yeah, I was just going to ask the same question for you, but basically my belief on immortality is quite intertwined with my ideas on time itself. So basically, for the past 2 years or so, I've been exploring the concept of time in my writing, and I've come across this idea of like different registers of time that are not linear. And so if we think about our languages, we basically all of them are based around some sort of linear organization of time. The way in which like the tenses are organized can differ from language to language, but they basically all have this concept that there's a past and a future. So in my writing, I try to devise a language whereby the past and the future are considered to be the same domain, and you can also there's like an emotional register for time whereby events that are more significant for you personally are always considered to be occurring more imminently than events that are not so important. So an event that happens yesterday that is insignificant would be considered to be more distant than an event that happened 10 years ago that is really significant to you. And as a result of that, your perception of time as like something that goes from A to B completely changes, and you're able to exist in spaces of time that loop around each other and go. Well, we'd think of it as going back and forth, but that wouldn't really be the case in the language. It would just be like a totally different mode of experience that can essentially be infinite. Or you can choose to like leave that infinitude when it suits you.
Immortality, like between all different like spiritual practices and stuff. There's like pop conceptions of immortality, like vampires and stuff, that like just live forever on a physical plane, and it's not something spiritual. It's undead. The thing that I think is useful about the Chisong, that's like for people who don't care about time or think about it a lot, or like engage with like their own relationship with time or whatever, is I think that like that's part of the makeup of reality anyway, is that like the things that occur more immediately to you are the things that are more relevant to you and your life experience. And that's what like manifestation is about, or like karma and shit are ideas about that. Like the places and the situations that you end up in are like things, they're like the meaning of your time and space, like of your life.
Yeah.
And like people, I think like the organization of language into a linear time, apart from being like useful in like organizing experiences or movements or whatever, is like one of like protecting yourself from experience, or like removing yourself from experience so that you don't have to like engage directly with it or something. And I think like a lot of language and like conceptualization is about that. It's like building up layers or barriers between you and experience so that you don't feel the full impact of them or something. And so, if you like witness like a bombing or something, you can be like, that's nothing to do with me. Like, I don't care. Or, like the things that come into your consciousness or into your, perception that you don't like or make you feel uncomfortable. You can use your linguistic or conceptual tools to be like, like I'm a valuable person because that's not me. I think like a lot of spiritual disciplines go like, that is me. There's not a separation between like my identity or my being and the being of other occurrences, especially other people or animals as well in the world.
Yeah, and I feel like linear registers of time make it very difficult for you to interact. Well, it makes it almost impossible to interact with your future, for one, but it also makes it incredibly difficult to interact with your past, because there's so much distance that you build up and continue to build up as a consequence of living through linear time. And this space between important events in your life, like, it prevents you from really engaging with it and coming to terms with these things that happen. And all you're left with is like a sense of like nostalgia, or like a yearning for things that have passed.
Yeah, and also like a desperation for things that you want to happen in the future.
Yeah, but and like, also you're not able to even see that event anymore, because you start to create narratives that weren't actually there at the time as well, because your memory is just trying to like recall things. But I feel like if we had languages that facilitated non-linear time, then our conception of memory and things like that would totally change as well. Like, for example, in Chitsong, there's no difference between the word to remember and to predict, because essentially in a non-linear register of time, those two things are the same, right? So I want to ask you about what's your relationship between like health and immortality, and how do they help each other?
like I don't think it's like if you're healthy enough, you'll live for a long time.
Right.
But like I think that like the practice of regulating and engaging with your body, as well as like your mind and the other things in your life or whatever, lead you further to a point of like, I don't know, like a imminence, like an engaged, like a being internal to yourself,
Mm.
or like a space where like you're not in fluctuation between self and world or something.
Mm.
Like I don't think necessarily that it would be impossible to like break through like the psychological barriers of time and space while eating junk food or whatever.
Mm.
But I think that like it would take a super high level of focus and concentration and understanding to do it
Mm.
with those distractions in your body.
Mhm.
We move on to the Pope's tweets.
Let's move on to the Pope's tweets.
So we're just gonna have a look over some of the Pope's tweets and see what kind of insights he's offering to the world. Because I mean, like, I think we can fairly say that previous popes have been pretty shit, but the new pope, I mean, yeah, he sticks to like some of the orthodox stuff, but his attitude is what I think people need from like a religious leader.
Mm.
So the other day, I retweeted the Pope saying, let us hear the cry of the earth, wounded in 1,000 ways by human greed. Let us allow her to remain a welcoming home in which no one feels excluded. Hashtag World Wildlife Day. And like heaps of the responses were like Christians hating on it because they're like, fuck this, we need a real Pope. Like, where's the Catholicism in that and shit? Like,
Right.
like fuck this pagan shit and like all this shit. And it's like, damn.
What are your thoughts
Like,
on that?
I think like the like non-Christians who were looking at it too were like dissing it as well. It's like just can't do anything right.
Yeah.
Anyway, are we still? Yeah, we'll look over a few more tweets.
Sure. Yeah.
I'll just read a few out.
Sure. Go for it.
Sometimes we may feel we are alone in facing difficulties, but even if He, capital H, doesn't intervene immediately, the Lord, capital L, walks by our side, and if we keep going forward, He will open up a new path. That one really spoke to me. I was having like a real rough day when I saw that one, and I was like, man, I need a bit of the Lord right now.
Yeah. I mean, like, there's so much value for having like a guide that can, like, a reference for you to behave in accordance to good virtues when you yourself are not sure of what's best to do for yourself or for other people.
Yeah, it's what
People
the
are
world...
missing that. People are missing that because we feel like we're like totally isolated and that we like are weak for using references. Like we're told not to rely on anything but ourselves. But it's like sometimes it's ourselves that get us in fucked situations in the first place.
Well, like the separation as well, like gets everyone in fuck situations.
Yeah. I mean, we've been on this individualism buzz for quite a while now, and it's just not working.
Yeah, and it's like even like I don't know if we talked about this last time, but like the old scriptures from like Buddhism and shit, and even the Bible, and like really old like Taoist texts and shit are about the same problems that we're having now. Like, people over investing in the world and materiality and like putting their value and their energy outside of them, and like that leading to like separation and pain and greed and like blah 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 blah. I don't know. I think it's like people see that kind of content and they like think that the world used to be like something and now it's like this or some shit. But it's
Mm.
like the patterns are the same. It's like maybe it's a bit faster or a bit more like denser, or like high frequency or whatever. But like the things that we need to do to have a like strong community and a strong identity are the same regardless of what is happening in the world. Like
Mm.
like they're practices that we need to be doing. It's not like solutions to problems that are happening. It's just a thing that you need to keep doing on like a rhythm or as a habit
Mm.
forever.
Right. Forever, bro. That's the immortality buzz.
Till death do us part.
Yeah, like definitely. I like what you said about like the patterns being the same. I feel like now though, like the points of those patterns are like more dispersed or something, or like there's a fuck ton of noise that is like being blasted over those patterns so that they're harder to recognize now.
Mm. But I mean, people were having problems with them back in the day. So, like, obviously they weren't that easy to recognize.
I think people also had the time to reflect on religiosity, which they still do now, but they're being distracted by like cats and shit.
Yeah, work is the main thing.
Yeah.
Work or lack of work are like the main things that are like fucking people up. But they're the same thing because like work is just a form of lack of work anyway. Like having a job is just like a lack of work that looks like you're doing something. Whereas like if you're like neat or whatever, or like, unemployed and shit, it's just like the pure form of no work.
Mm. Right. The only work is God's work.
Well, it's been said before. But yeah, I think like it is more set up now for people to be distracted and like choosing like a pathway in your life that is not about the external world is seen as less viable or less respectable than it used to be, I think. Like I think there used to be a lot more like explicit external value placed on like virtue and I don't know, yeah, like religious practice. Like I think it seems like, a lot of more people used to do it together and it was like a fundamental thing in society or whatever.
Mm. There was something I was going to say, but it's gone.
Yeah, I was going somewhere with that as well, but it dropped off. What were we talking about before that?
The Pope.
Nah, he's gone. He's dead.
So no, I was like, yeah, if people reference like these huge databases in order to generate their worldview, right? Basically, their worldview is not really based on experience, right? Like, yeah, getting knowledge from databases is like at the expense of getting knowledge from your own experience of life. So it reaches like a tipping point where when everyone is referencing the database or referencing ideologies, it doesn't matter what the database is. It could be like the Bible or like Huffington Post, like whatever.
Well, it is. It's all those things.
Right. But like, so like what happens when it reaches like a mass point where everyone is referencing ideologies?
Well, I think that's the point we're at now. Like, there's a small amount of experience that people are having, but I think it is at a point where it's tipping over into that just being like swept up or encapsulated in like data or whatever. It's like I had this experience and it means this, and people were saying that on the internet, and like people's tone a lot of the time on the internet is like it's like rules, or even like a error message like on a computer or whatever. It's like, like a man said this onto me. Oh, sorry. Like a man said this to me on the street. It means this. And like that's it. It's like it's not gaining knowledge or experience. It's just like listing categories of things or whatever.
It's also like a contribution to the database too. It's almost as if that's more important. Like people don't process things anymore because it's just like dump it onto the internet and like let the database just consume it and absorb it. Just one more tick to the list kind of thing.
Yeah, and like people are becoming more automatic and more dogmatic. And like they think that that's part of the past, but it's like actually part of the future. It's like, or it's like the direction people are heading in or whatever. But then people are also surprised when like they're not feeling healthy and shit. And it's like, but I ticked all of these boxes.
If that's all you're doing, then you aren't really generating like new reference points or,
Well, I think there's a bit of a reversal in like what we're saying and what people are doing and shit. Like people are obsessed with progress and moving forward into the future, away from the past. And I think because they're fixated on that, they obsessively delve into the past in order to rewrite it. And then it's like they're just living in the past or whatever. But it's like the opposite, like it's like in Chisong, like the opposite of the past isn't the future, it's the present or whatever. Or like the opposite of the future isn't the past, it's the present. Like you need to use the information that is there because that's the space you live in and shit. But you also need to be like translating that or transmuting that into personal experience and like, like meaning about what you are and what you're doing. Like, rather than just being like a machine that like translates past into future or something.
Right. Yeah.
Like it's like we're on the one hand we're saying like people need to like be with what's already there, as in past knowledge and practices that are effective in like keeping a balance or resolving problems or resolving like tensions or diseases or like whatever. And on the other hand, we're saying like people are too stuck in the past and shit, but they're not the same thing, It's like one is like being present with what is there, and it doesn't matter if it's past or future or like anything you want to call it, different dimensions of things. But like the other one is like refusing or like avoiding to be present by only engaging with like past or future or something.
Well, it's like, it's like the ability to, like you said, transmute the past into a present in such a way that like it becomes like living again and revitalized. If it's just like, yeah, you're looking at the past, but you're not really like processing it in the present, then yeah, you're like stuck in the past rather than like using it as a means to invigorate the present.
Yeah, I think like you have to attach your body and your like specificity to it. And I don't mean individuality, but like your innate specificity of I'm this right now and no one else is that and shit. But just like translating it into the future is the opposite. It's like draining your energy outwards to past and future or something.
Yeah, because like the past and the future are both like dead spaces. It's like you're taking one object and just like moving it a little bit without any real engagement of what it is. And I think like a lot of people now, they sort of they interact with the present as if it's like a delayed future. Like, you know, people are experiencing things through the lens of like Instagram stories or whatever, whereby like every event is just something that you have to upload and like digest in the future, or allow other people to digest it in the future. So there is actually like no present in that engagement. It's like you upload things so that people in the future can engage with things in the past. And there's just like no present aspect to that at all.
Yeah, it's dead. It's like there was like a core of like life or movement or whatever, and we're just like slowly moving away from it into these just like dead after effects or whatever. And it's like, yeah, you can always go back there, but it's like, why keep moving away from that or whatever? Like,
right. Yeah, well, it's just like constant abstraction from like the truth of God.
yeah, but it's like, yeah, I don't know. I know, we know that. Everyone knows that. But it's
But we
like
still
this
keep
like
doing it.
addiction that we can't like move away from or whatever. But to bring that back to health as well, it's like the thing that makes your body healthy is like energy and shit. And like that's the thing that we're progressing away from.
Right. And energy takes the form of like a force within yourself, and also the force between like collaboration, like intrapersonality with other people. And I feel like both of those domains that are like profoundly important to people are being taken over by databases.
Yeah. Which is basically like, I mean, it's storing, which basically means blocking flow or like whatever energy information. Like, because people are obsessed with like knowing it or seeing it, like stopping it basically.
Yeah, like capturing it.
Yeah. Controlling it.
Controlling it.
But what up? That's why you have cancer.
Yeah. There was this text by Baudrillard that people hate, but I kind of like it. That's like saying things like cancer and like STIs and terrorism is like a way to prevent like total control of things.
Oh.
So like systems create terrorism, like the more, and like security creates like computer viruses, and sex creates AIDS.
Mm.
And like, yeah, the more you try to like map a system, the more like loopholes you create, or more like entry points you create for the destruction of that system.
Yeah, well, it's like the more you try and block up energy and shit, the more it builds up and then like makes breakages that weren't there in the first place. Like if something is more fluid, you can't break it.
Yeah.
Like I think death didn't used to be such a big deal either. It was like that was just the flow of time and people didn't care because like they weren't obsessed with the physical body as much as we are. Or like they weren't as like located in it.
Well, I think now the physical body isn't even like a physical body anymore. It's just like an image that we have to like we have to just preserve our body in one state for the entirety of our lives. And like that's not what a body is, right?
Mm,
A body has to change along with its environment,
mm.
but it doesn't really feel like that is what people are engaging with when they engage with their body. I think it's sort of seen as like just this frozen snapshot that you're always trying to maintain for the rest of your life.
Yeah, like people are trying to like fit their energy or movement or patterns into the like image of what a body is supposed to be and shit.
Mm,
And
yeah,
like it makes you sick, literally. Like it's like your energy, no one's energy or patterns are supposed to go that way because that way doesn't exist. Like that's not a body, it's an image. So like any kind of trying to fit into that is already illness.
right. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, an image is just like a flat thing, so it can't contain anything.
Yeah.
They're useful as symbols that reference the actual thing behind it,
Yeah.
but they're not useful at all if you're not using them in that way. If you're using them the as like a facsimile or replacement of the object itself,
Mm,
then all of their potency is removed. It's
mm.
like the cross in Christianity. It's like a portal for you to engage with like the truth of Christianity. But
Yeah.
if you just look at it as like a fucking cross, then it doesn't have any like meaning or energy.
Yeah. You have to invest the energy in it
Hmm.
and make it into something alive or whatever in the way that you like need or are, like
Yeah.
bring your pattern to that guide point of the
Hmm.
image, whatever.
Yeah. It's a gate. Like it's a it's like an entry point that you have to find out how to access. And
Yeah,
then yeah,
like you go
exactly.
through the gate, not just into it and stand like in the in the middle of it, or like in the
Yeah,
doorway.
right. It's like there's something behind it that you need to access. And like once you do that, then you also realize that you yourself aren't just an image, because
Yeah.
like your energy is permitted to engage with this like 5-dimensional space.
Mm,
And that's where like the real potency starts to happen.
mm. I reckon that's good for this episode.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think that's a good wrapping up point.
Yeah, enter the gate, bros.
Yeah, bros.
um Cool, thanks for watching episode 2 of queer undead. Let us know if you have any thoughts about this topic, or if you want us to talk about anything for the next topic, then we're all ears. Thanks very much.
Bye.
Bye bye.